let's focus our attention to looking at the form I-140 and having a discussion about it. But before we do, you can see right here it says USCIS Citizenship and Immigration Services, meaning all the information we'll be discussing or talking about, you can find it directly on the USCIS website. And there are links to forms that is involved or you're going to use in the EB2 NIW process, most of which we have already discussed. But just to call your attention to these two links here. Remember, one of the general tips that we discussed was making sure you use an updated version of the form I-140. This is where it comes to, this is where it will be very useful for you. Always make sure you download from this URL because it always has the updated version. And also we had a discussion around the instructions for filling form I-140. A detailed instruction can be found here, but our focus, like I mentioned, is on form I-140. So let's click on that and see what that is. Overall, the form I-140 has 10 parts. And you can see when I scroll down, you can see the last part is part 10, meaning like section 10. And each of these, most of these boxes that you see here, not all of these are required for you to fill out. Some of those you have to, others it doesn't apply to you. Just a call out again, if you are using an immigration attorney, this is not something you should worry your head so much about. Your immigration attorney will take care of everything, but it is also good to have a great or high level understanding of what this form is about and what information it is required of you. But if you're going to do it yourself, then yes, this is something that you need to pay attention to. I am not going to fill out all of these forms. It is going to take us hours to do this. I am going to just briefly talk about each of these sections and provide you with what information it has been required of you. Note that at the end of this course module, I would be, as already mentioned, have a repository, and part of the repository or the document that I would include would be a sample filled I-140 that you can always leverage when you are filling yours. With that said, let's go and start with our breakdown of the part. So note that we have where it says start here. Let me quickly use my annotation button. I apologize in advance. Annotation on Zoom is sometimes kind of messy, but we'll see how it goes. You can see right from here, it says start here. This is where you start, meaning all the information or the boxes above, you don't have to do anything about it, okay? So this is where you will start filling this form. So let's start here. Quick note here, type or print in black ink. What it means is if you should print out and manually be filling this, use a black ink. But what it is, the beauty of this form is it is fillable, meaning that you can literally enter all the information that needs to be entered here. So you can see when I do this, it allows me to enter information. Let's try that, right? My name is Richmond. So just use Rich. Giving name. My last name is not Rich. My last name, let's see. Ogongon, whatever that is. Something. I just want to highlight the fact that you can actually type in here. First name. I'm a big Messi fan, so let's see. Messi Ronaldo. That doesn't work, does it? You can't be a Messi fan, Ronaldo fan. I'm just kidding here. But yeah, so this is how you're going to do. You can actually fill out, so that makes it easier for you. You don't have to print it out. So let's talk about the various parts, and hopefully you have a little bit more context into this form and what each part requires. So let's talk about part 1. So you see here it says part 1. Part 1 basically is asking you information about the person or organization filling this petition. Remember, you are not an organization, you are a person. So most of the time for EB2 NIW applicant, it is just going to be information about yourself. Just understand that, okay? So the part 1, all it's asking you is information about yourself, details about yourself. As simple as that. Your name, your given name, middle name, asking about your mailing address and stuff like that. Just to call out, if you live outside of the United States, Kenya, Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria, wherever you are outside of the United States, chances are that you don't have a US Social Security number. You don't have a USCIS online account number. So all of these will be blank. You don't have to put anything there. Don't worry about it, okay? Like I said, if you're going through an immigration attorney, all of this will be sorted out. But if you're doing it by yourself, I'll share with you a sample that you can leverage to fill in this form out. Let's talk about the part two, what is the petition type. Very important to select the right petition type because, again, any mistake you make on this form can actually cause a delay or a denial in your petition. So take note of that. It's very important. So for this, tip here, because you're going through the EB2 NIW route, the petition type is definitely going to be 1H, which is an alien applying for an NIW, National Interest Waiver, who is a member of the profession holding advanced degree or an alien of exceptional ability. So this is the box you are going to tick. Okay, understand that and keep that in mind. And also make sure to choose the correct. We already talked about make sure to choose the correct category, as definitely this can significantly impact the processing of your petition. Now let's talk about part three. Information about the person for whom you are filing this form. So in this case, it's self-petition, so it's you. So this could include, it's more like the first part, your name, your date of birth, the country of birth, and other personal details. Remember, information about his or her last arrival in the United States. It is most times, if you have never been to the United States, all of this doesn't really matter. But if you have, and for example, you live in the United States, excuse me, like me, then this information needs to be filled out. We have an I-94 that keeps records of your arrival and departure in the United States, and you should have a unique number that you would definitely be able to put here. And other information, your passport number, of course, you have to put in your passport number and stuff like that. All right, let's talk about part four. What does it cover? Processing information. So this covers how and where you will process your application. If you are currently in the United States, you must apply for adjustment of status. We talked about that, right? If you're outside of the US, you would indicate which US consulate will handle your visa processing or handle your visa application. So that is all about the part four, right? You can see here, it's asking you whether you're an alien who apply for a visa abroad at the US embassy or consulate, those kind of stuff. So because you will be outside of the US, yes, you will be applying for a visa abroad, and then you have to specify the city or the town or the country. And again, like we mentioned, if you're already in the US, then this is the checkbox. And other informations are straightforward. Your street name, your city, your town, basically your mailing address. Okay. Let's talk about part five. Part five is basically additional information about the petitioner. What does it mean? So basically, this information is very important because it helps the USCIS evaluate your standing and the legitimacy of your petition. So you can see from here, type of petitioner. Most times, because you are going to petition by yourself, it is going to be 1B, right? It's self-employed. And then all of this information needs to be filled out if necessary. Your gross annual income in dollars, you have to probably convert your Naira, your Ghana cedis, your shillings, whatever currency it is in your home country, into dollar and then put it here, because remember, the form is asking specifically for dollar. And you have the NAICS code, which is basically a code for the category of work you do. You got to put it here as well. And other information that may or may not apply to you. Okay. So again, don't worry about all of these. If you're using an immigration attorney, it's not, you don't have to worry so much. Again, I'll also share sample, just a reminder for you to review, and then use leverage whilst you are trying to apply for this. So let's talk about part six. Part six is you have to basically describe the job you are proposing, and this could include your job title, a brief description, and whether it is a full-time or a permanent position. For NIW, for part six, you must clearly articulate how your role benefits the interests of the United States. So you can see here asking for the job title, the SCOC code. Again, this is also a more down level to the type of job you are doing. And like I mentioned, don't worry. I'll share links to where you can find the SEOC code, and then you can always leverage to find how that applies to you. It's always important for you to have a very high level job description of the role you play at your current company, and then make sure you describe it appropriately here. And other information, which is very easy to come by, whether your job is full time or not full time. All right, let's move on to part 7. That is information about your spouse and all children of the person for whom you are filing. You have to collect the details about your immediate families who might be included in your petition, and you have to list your spouse and your children with their personal details. That is very straightforward. All of what is being asked is very straightforward here. In part 7, ensure this section is comprehensive to include all dependents accurately. Because, for example, if you live in the US, you'll be adjusting your status, or if you live outside of the US, you'll be doing consular processing. It is important to capture all of your dependents that would be coming with you if you are outside the US to the US, or who will be adjusting their status here in the US. So it should be comprehensive, and don't forget to leave anybody out if it is not necessary. Let's talk about part 8. Contact information, certification of and signature of the petitioner or authorized signatory. So the petitioner, you have to provide your contact information and certify the truthness of your petition. Your signature here is a legal affirmation of your provided information. Remember, any false statements can have serious consequences. Remember that any false information definitely would have a serious consequence here. So please do the due diligence and ensure you provide the right information, not just in part 8, but all of the other parts as well. So this is where you're going to sign, and also the date. And if you use an interpreter, which mostly what I've seen in this process, people don't use interpreters, meaning interpret the document for you, basically guiding you, then they have to sign as well. But just because you're doing self-petitioning, it is just going to be 6A and 6B, your signature, and the date. Part 9, which we already covered. Where is it? Okay, so part 9, yeah, the interpreter's details as well. I just mentioned if he's an interpreter, you have to make sure he signs. So basically, if you don't, then part 9 is just going to be blank. Okay. Now let's talk about the last part, which is part 10, which offers additional information. It's basically like an additional space for any extra details you could not fit in the earlier sections. Use this wisely to include any critical information that supports your argument. You can attach extra sheets if necessary, ensuring they are properly referenced and signed. So this is just like, if all other information that you provided, you still need space to provide more. For example, let's talk about your dependents. You have so many children. In the dependent section or family section, there are limited space. Yeah, this is also a good place for you to provide extra names who are going to be part of your petition. So that is all for filing form I-140 and the various sections and what information you need. But just a general high level. Remember that actually filing this form can be daunting. But with this general tip, you will be better prepared. First of all, make sure you double check everything. Ensure all information is accurate and complete before submission. Make copies of the entire form and all supporting documents for your records. If necessary, use professional help. Consider consulting with or hiring an immigration attorney to help navigate these complexities and ensure your petition is as strong as possible. Carefully read and follow all the USCIS instructions provided with the form and submit your form and supporting documents with deadlines to avoid delays. Remember, if you use an immigration attorney, I always tell you that, right? They will handle all of these intricacies for you, allowing you to focus on your career and other important matters. So that is all about this form. And I hope this provides a little bit more context to what exactly the form is and what information is required. I'll see you in the next video.